All right, so this is the 12th house class that did not record earlier today. And so I thank all my supporters. I thank them for being a part of the ever-changing circumstances that we're in, but also that they allow themselves to be a part of the change. All that attended the class, I thank you for your support. Thank you for your donations. So I truly believe that information is a key factor to our evolution and our growth. It's keys that trigger the unconscious, which, when triggered, is allowed to make changes. And the reason why we began to look at the 12th house is because it's a position on the natal chart where the Aries starts as the first house. But when I went back, as my mind told me to, I began to look at the Pisces. And then I seen that Aquarius came after Pisces. So the wheel actually went this way. And that is the counterclockwise. But there were other ages and eras that were before Piscean age. So we're not just talking about signs and symbols. We're also talking about ages that collective consciousness and human beings lived in. So the Piscean age is, of course, we could tag it with the Christ consciousness, because no matter what people say, astrology and spiritual development go together. The problem is, as I told the class, is that in the church, or in the governing factors of the church, the powers that would be, they brought division where religion was the factor and spirituality is the way home. And even Jesus said that they that worship me must worship me in spirit and truth. Jesus carried the Christ spirit. So the Christ spirit came out of the Piscean age. Okay. So as we move forward, we want to understand that as we use astrology, it is an astral type of perspective. So it's energy. We are human beings having a spiritual encounter, but that spiritual encounter means that we are actually energy. So how did this play into the Pisces 12th house class? Well, if you are someone that has Mars in your 12th house, Mars, it brings in an energy that can be anxious. It can get angry. It wants to move fast without without anyone telling it what to do. Okay, just for instance. And so in the 12th house, if you are that type of individual with Mars there, then you're going to be working on self-undoing in anger, the anxious aspects, and all of that is energy. You know, as I told my class tonight, just go figure if you have Mars in the 12th house and you do not look at your anger and the volatileness that it can bring. Because that's what, the Mars and even Aries, it can bring that kind of anger where it becomes so diabolical that it will go to extremes. Now, this is just an example of self-undoing in the 12th house. So what you want to do is work on anger, become peaceful. That's the opposite. If you're angry, you want to become peaceful. Wherever our weakness is in a sign, then the work that needs to be done is to strengthen it by bringing correction. If a person feels rejected, and in the 12th house, you have rejection. You also have institutionalization. People that go to jail and they don't understand. People that get on drugs and they don't understand why. And it's because there is work for the individual to do because they have a sign in that house, say like Sagittarius. A Sagittarius in that house can be prone to drugs, but anybody that's there can get addicted to alcohol and drugs because it's an escapism these are escapism type of substances, which means that, if something happened to you, instead of you talking it out, you might revert to the drug or the alcohol, which is called escapism. You want to undo that escapism because it's going to cause you more harm than good. And really, your life cannot go forward for you to progress until you undo that area, the rejection. The other thing, rejection, yes, undoing rejection, because sometimes you and I feel rejected, or we carry that type of position because it's in our mind. Neptune gives us illusions and delusions. These can be negative illusions and delusions. And because we don't practice spirituality and our development in the spiritual area, what happens is that we believe what our mind is telling us. So the mind has to become one with the heart, and the heart has to be cleansed. You know how it says, out of the heart flow the issues of life. Well, whatever is in your heart, that's what's going to flow out. So if meditation and consciousness is not practiced, then we always have these upsets, these thoughts that no one loves us or likes us, feelings of rejection. Now, the other thing is by Pisces being a water sign, it is going to bring emotional instability if you have not found a way to stabilize yourself in practicing consciousness or presence, right? It's going to bring instability emotionally because just as the Pisces moon just passed, a lot of people were emotional. I was too. We couldn't figure out why. And really, you could figure it out when you look at the moon, because the moon is bringing in the tide. And the tide is going back and forth, right? And so that means even us, in our emotions, they go back and forth until we can get to a place where we practice spiritual development and get our emotions to just rest in peace. Then we'll be with the tide back and forth, So the next thing is to understand in the escapism that when we do drugs or alcohol, we can trigger psychosis and schizophrenia. Individuals born under the sun sign of Pisces are prone to schizophrenia. And I study this because I work with mental health. And I'm always looking for answers to help people. I'm always looking for answers to help people to feel better about themselves and to understand themselves, because it's too many oppressed. So this 12th house is the house of self-undoing. So whatever negatives in our lives, we have to work on, undoing them, but we have to be conscious that they're there. If we're not conscious, then that means that we're operating unconsciously, which is like being in a coma. Okay? So if you understand what being in a coma relates to, then you will begin to work on that now. I remember scriptures where it said, and the dead in Christ will rise. Well, this is what's happening. Those that become consciously awakened in areas of their life begin to live truly. And that's what Christ was talking about, So here, I'm going to move on. And because I took notes for this class, it's so much to it. And so we discussed the bondage that could have came from past life karmas. It could be generational, something that mother or fathers did, the ancestors, but looking into where the problem is, if it's relational, if it's family, if it's money, like Taurus would have problems if it was in the 12th house, because it is a house of money, material, and possessions. Something would have its money caught up if they're in the 12th house, and they would have to undo it before those material possessions would begin to be released. And that's why we talk about the bondage, breaking free, and self-undoing. If it's the attitude of the Taurus, they have to self-undo before things will actually release. We have been through some cycles in the last couple of years where a lot of people have felt like they were stuck. And some of the energy was telling us to search and know thyself. But then we as a people do not always pay attention to what, spiritual energy is telling us. We'll pay more attention to people that we're talking to, we're working with, that kind of thing. And there's a time and a season that we need to pay attention to ourselves and our spiritual development. So if Neptune gives us illusions and delusions, how can we overcome the negative and see the positive? It would be through consciousness, through our spiritual development, through our prayers, through our meditation. Because Pisces individuals, people with Pisces or people with their sign in Pisces, they live in a spiritual type of mindset, actually, mystical. The best thing for them would be to pay attention and to begin to work on the self-undoing so that illusions won't be negative or deceptive, right? They would be more so positive, because you'll be getting information from the energy that can help you to progress in life. And this is in the 12th house. Okay. So consciousness is not always available unless you have come into the earth with some levels of consciousness. Now, this is true. Now, there are people that come into the earth with no awakening, no consciousness. That means that they have to develop, right? The other thing is that none of us have really obtained mastery in the levels of, say, like some people will say they're awakened. Well, I believe that we're awakened in some areas, some of us, but I don't believe that that we're all awakened. Now, that's just my opinion, not to offend anybody. Because if you are totally awakened in all areas, then that means that there is no areas of your life that are stuck. Everything is flowing, because presence is in every area of your life. God is moving and able to move in every area of your life. Okay. So I did present that to, the group, and that's for them to leave or take. The biggest part of the discussion is to help people understand some of the dynamics of the 12th house. Like Mother Teresa had Sagittarius in her 12th house. Well, she's considered to be a martyr. Many of Jesus and his disciples were martyrs. They chose the suffering saint life. Some of us are called into this life for that, but we got to figure that one out. And I think that anybody that's called to suffering or self-help, they're going to know, because their heart is going to compel them. Like I work with the homeless. The organization that I formed was out of a compelling dream that I had. So the young people that work with me, they believed in it. They went with it. They had the hearts for it. And that's what I mean. Everybody's not going to be made up to go out and serve the homeless or, those that are mentally ill. I feel like I'm connected to those that are in need of understanding that they can be healed where it comes to mental illness, because I suffered from in the past depression. I have family members that have not, well, they have diagnoses. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. So I was always interested in knowing and helping them understand, or people understand, how to live a better life. So if I didn't have a better life, then I would research it. And that's where I am. Behavior health, And I believe that if we go to church and we are spiritually developing ourselves, then we can learn how to sufficiently behave, right? And this is not just an ordinary behavior where you train a person. There's some extra challenges that go on with behavior health. So when you look at Pisces, and let's go with Mother Teresa again. She went with what she knew and what she felt. When you watch the movie and read her book, she suffered from depression. And that is because her Sagittarius was in that 12th house. Now, what would she need to do? Master the depression. She definitely did not let her feelings and emotions, those tides coming in and back and forth, master her. She dealt with that in secret. But she got the mission done that she wanted. And that's when mastery begins to come in. Because no matter what your feelings are, you do not allow your feelings to take away from the work that you're doing. And in the 12th house, it can be it can be very strong that will happen, because illusions, delusions, deception, until you master it. Instability in emotions, though, that water moving. You got to get that water in you stable. And that means that you're going to meditate. You can even command yourself to come into divine order. All right. So I know my video might look crazy, but I'm doing my work. Y'all just get this information. Okay. So the sign of Pisces is a two fish. One fish is going forward and one is going backward. The one that's going forward is the one that we really want to take a hold of, because that's actually the mind for the future, all right, for us. But every time we take a step back to look at our past, then we're following the fish that's going in the opposite direction. So you got conflict and controversy going on in the Pisces energy that has to be recognized. All of this that I'm saying in the negative or the growth areas of Pisces energy means that you have to become accountable and know who you are. And the only way that we can know who we are is by being honest with deficiencies. All right. So the escapism side of one fish is there, but the other is the higher evolved side. Okay. And it turns back to creativity, mystical channels of universal energies. Pisceans are able to create great work of poetry and art. They're creative. And I can tell you, because I am a rising Pisces, that I write and I can create. This creative aspect that I have, it flows into the Capricorn. And Capricorn is a manager, is a builder, number one, structure. We see money everywhere, even though, you know what, people don't listen. Come on, do a consultation with me, spiritual advice, and I can show you where the money is, okay, in your life. Why? Because that's what Capricorns do. So we help to build and encourage. But then when you got that Pisces energy that comes in me, I've had to master the emotions, but I'm able to create. I can put thought into one word and create a paragraph to edify people. That's who I am. And that's true. Others will tell you that. And so people that work with me, I give them information on how to build a career, how to go forward, how to create classes, as so we're doing. Information is very valuable. And to know yourself, like Socrates said, know thyself. So anyway, it says, they allow themselves to find their own worldly self in the dream life of theater. So some of these people are theater entertainers, yeah. And to envision themselves in another person's shoes and can, act out roles by immersing their identity. So I want to say this here. This is an aspect that has helped me to step into someone else's shoes. I can put myself in as a neutral person, meaning that I can be neutral and I can see what the other person is feeling. As so, my feelings, So I'm not a person that is just thinking about myself and my feelings. And this is part of self-undoing. We become selfless. And that's a big part of the 12th house, being selfless. Okay. So Pisces rules the feet. And I told the class that if you meditate, then the energy that flows through your body, you begin to feel it. And you can feel it through your feet, right? You can feel it in your hands. But the thing about it is knowing that you have that ability and that you can feel the energy of consciousness, spirit, God moving through you. All right. So I'm going to tell you the book that I'm reading from at this time because I want to give credit to the author. And it says that these people learn to experience a grounding effect to keep them aware of realities of life. So they're very tactical and strategic at grounding themselves. And when you have a water sign, you really need to learn how to ground yourself. And that means that you connect energetically with Gaia, the earth. And so it is very, it is the very contact with the earth that enables them to be graceful. Some of these people become ballet artists, choreographers, ballroom dancers, performing arts achievers, and who draw us to daydream of the etheric heights. Pisces are also blessed by their desire to play musical instruments or superb vocal qualities. And so the credit to the last 2 to 3 minutes goes to Mitchell Lopate. That is the publisher and the writer of this book. Pisces, I am what I intuitively know is a mystical sign. That means that they can move through and not even know the earth into spiritual realms and come on back here. They can seem to be blonde type of people, meaning that they talk like they're blondie or that they have no wits, but they're very intuitive. They have more understanding than they give themselves credit for. They're transcendental, merging with spirit, cosmic consciousness. After the Pisces sun or anyone in that house with a sign has overcome the self-sabotaging aspects of themselves, they can begin to actually connect with Uranus. Uranus is the highest octave concerning the spiritual development. And so Neptune and Jupiter, they have a work together, although right now they are, kind of opposites, or they're opposing each other. And the opposing factors I talked about in the video that I did apologizing. Okay, so you go over there and look at it. They're dreamers and they're martyrs. There is nothing wrong with these areas that I just spoke of. The thing is getting a grip on the sabotaging areas of your personality and whatever took you into that 12th house. Whatever karma took you into that 12th house is necessary for you to figure out. So some of the aspects, again, that go along with them are fantasizing, escapism. They will become gravitated to cult religions, substance abuse. Religious sacrificing is a part of this 12th house. Yoga, body work, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think the biggest thing that we want to look at with any of the houses is to come into balance. So even if we don't have, Libra there or Venus, we want Venus because she's about that balance. We want to bring her in, and if we can understand what balance is, then we could get a better understanding. Like if you smoke a pack a day, eventually it's going to cause sickness in your body. Now, if you don't want sickness in your body, then you're going to self-undo and stop that smoking, right? You can cut back until you have completely stopped smoking. But the factor there is cutting it off, because there's no balance to life when we inhale smoke. And I'm not saying this to offend smokers. I'm just giving an analogy. Okay. So let me just go back and try and get my computer back on so I can just read the last portion of the information here. Okay. And so thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. I hope that you guys that listen that don't know me will subscribe. I do have self-help books, and I have t-shirts. I'm a woman of power. For women out there that are coming into their empowerment. Nothing against the guys, because I'm getting t-shirts for the guys made and for the children. Uh-oh, I think my computer done turned itself off. Wait. Yeah, hold on, guys. I'm trying to turn it back on. And so, excuse me with my computer moving, my phone moving around. I was just, after that recording didn't take place, I was just really trying to get this out. And honestly, if it's not perfect, at least I got the information there. And that's what really matters, is the information. Information is informed, and it forms inside of us, okay? And so if we could get positive information seeded into one another, then we would be able to do a world of good for each other. I think that that's what love is. When we care about each other as a whole, people, in the capacity of wanting to inform them, then we're looking at what God has sent us here to do, because we're not working against each other. We're not jealous. We're not envious. We're not wishing bad on one another, which, that's so you need to undo yourself with that kind of thinking, because when you wish bad for others, try to do things bad or negative to others, you're just doing it to yourself. We're all connected. And so if we're all connected, that means that what are you really doing here? So work on yourself to get that gone. And that's not even just in the 12th house. People are hating on each other all over the world. And it don't do no good, because all it does is keep us in a standstill. It keeps us from moving forward, because we need each other. So why would I be teaching on the 12th house? Why would anybody on YouTube be teaching anything? Well, maybe some people teach for money, but money is not, it's not what people think it is. If you meditate, you can imagine money coming to you, and money will come. The labors that we put in with working is so out of order. You know, we got a system that commands work, but we also have a heavenly system where God says, if you asked and if you think on those things and call them into being. All right. So I'll be ranting about stuff to help people. Okay, I do. But I'm going to the last part, so I won't keep you. And of course, my class had more order, but this is it because I'm making sure that I get the information out. Okay. So don't talk about me because I know there's some people out there. They think everything supposed to be perfect. Ain't nothing in life perfect but God. How about that? Okay, so when I began, I was talking about the reason why I started with Pisces, and we're going to go into Aquarius. I'll set the date soon. But from Pisces to Aquarius, because, you know, the Spirit had given me something some time ago, and it was the ages. So Pisces is an age of collective consciousness of humans that brought an era in together, such as, let me read this to you. And this is my own research. It says, as such, the age of Pisces has been characterized by belief. It's a spiritual belief system. The birth of Christianity and Islam ushered in an age where humans were largely defined by their religious beliefs and allegiances. Piscean theme of sacrifice and martyrdom are common among religious texts formed during this era. From the Spanish Inquisition to birth of the United States to the Holocaust, all of these events had one thing in common: persecution in the name of belief. Now, the thing that I was pressing in with my class is the Spanish Inquisition, so you can look at the dates yourself, to the birth of the United States. The Piscean age started around 1 AD to 2000 AD. Now, if you're a Pisces, then you want to look at how this age affected the collective, because there was wars going on. In the United States, the birth of the United States had a lot to do with slavery. So there was also the Holocaust. There was a lot of anger and warring during the time that Christianity was being developed. Now, this isn't anything to say in regards to Christ, because I totally believe a lot of the information that I study because I'm led to. Whereas people have told us that we should not study astrology, I beg to differ. It's taken time for me to cut and self-undo those conformities that I was born into. But, you know, the Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It also says, do not conform. So that I take into, and the words, conforming to what? Something that's not going to work for me? There's so much more for us to learn. So conformity is not something that I'm going to do. I'm going to present, you know, the aspects to the people and let them see which way they want to go. And of course, I'm not tying anybody's hands to take on what I'm saying. I'm just informing because the information is given to me for that reason. So the Piscean age was for a season that the Spirit of Christ reigned in, but there was dark situations that happened in warring. There's a book called The Dark Side of Christianity, that if no one understands the dark side, there is one, and you can go there and read it. It will just give you information on what really happened back in that time. All of the information that I gather has to do with antiquity. So why I started with Piscean age, because I wanted to present to the people in my classes that there's an age for each sign. And because there's a age, an era that means that the individual could look at that era that their sign is under and get information that may help them, because we're not just here by chance. The 12th house, again, is about self-undoing. It's a house of karma. If you get your natal chart, you can look and see what energies are flowing in the 12th house. And it's going to help you to understand what you need to do to untie yourself or undo if you have felt like you're stuck. Nothing has worked. You go to church, you pray. And I'm definitely not telling you not to pray, because I pray. I have a devotional life, I believe. And so with that being said, this is just an addition of understanding my energy, because I'm an energetic being, and so are you, whether you accept it or not. So when we go from the Piscean age, which we did this class, in about 2 weeks, we're going to do Aquarius and on around that way. Well, the reason why is because I want to present to people that don't know that there was a sun age where the lion age started, which is called the Leonian age. And then there was the Cancerian age, which is the moon age after Leo. And then there was the Gemini age. So these are eras that can give us all an understanding of our collective. Like, I am a Capricorn sun. So I have been looking into the Capricornian age. All right. So every sign has an age, an era that something took place. The Leonian age has massive creativity, hieroglyphs, and the Egyptian timing. Okay. So I am going to leave you guys with this video and thank all of my supporters and ask you guys that watch to subscribe and to let me know what you think. Don't leave no nasty comments, because it's not necessary. And have a beautiful night. Okay? Sleep well. Love, love, love. Send love all over the world. Heal our families. Heal our children. Heal. Let the trauma, the anger go. I do spiritual advisory, so you could do one-on-one classes with me. Just email me. Also do the profiles for your birth date, the natal charts as well. All right? Blessings. Bye-bye.